In the deep silence of space, far from Earth, the Galaxy Council gathered inside a shining ring-shaped station. It was built around a blue star that burned like a living diamond. The Council included the most powerful alien civilizations of the galaxy, the Threxians with their crystal armor, the Varn Dominion with their floating mines, and the cold mechanical race called the Drex Collective. They were ancient, wise, and arrogant. To them, humanity was young, wild, and small. They once said, humans are emotional creatures. Brave, yes, but foolish. But now, something had changed. Something that even the oldest members of the Council could not understand. Reports were arriving from the outer colonies, entire fleets destroyed, communication lines cut, and alien strongholds vanishing overnight. The strange part? Every message ended with the same signal, a human transmission, repeating two words over and over, "We remember." The council chamber was full of uneasy murmurs. The air trembled with fear. Chancellor Vyrek, of the Threxians, slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This is not possible," he hissed. The humans were broken after the Battle of Sol. Their fleet was gone, their planet burned. How can they rise again? A hologram flickered to life in the center of the room. It showed the destroyed colony of Varn Delta. The entire city had been turned into glass. Not a single survivor. The energy readings were off the charts, human weapons, but far beyond known limits. The Varn speaker, a glowing sphere of light, spoke in a calm but cold tone. "Our scouts confirm human signatures. But these are not the humans we knew. They fight like ghosts. No transmissions, no demands. Only silence and precision." The room fell quiet. Meanwhile, far from the council, on the dark side of a ruined moon, a human fleet waited in the shadows. Their ships were black, almost invisible, with no lights. The flagship, the Revenant, stood at the center. Inside, Admiral Sarah Kale watched the holomap, showing dozens of red enemy marks, alien outposts that had once enslaved human colonies. Her face was calm, but her eyes were cold. "They thought we would forget," she said quietly. "They thought we would kneel forever. But humanity remembers." Behind her, soldiers in armored suits stood ready. They were not the same humans who begged for peace years ago. These were survivors of the fall of Earth, forged in loss, united by revenge. Their technology had changed too. Strange black energy pulsed through their weapons, taken from ancient alien ruins that the Council had forbidden anyone to touch. But humans had no rules now, only one mission. "Operation Ghostfire begins," Sarah ordered. "No mercy." Moments later, the silence of space shattered. Human ships jumped from the shadows, appearing inside enemy territory. Alien defense stations screamed alerts, but it was too late. Human weapons tore through shields like paper. Their attacks were fast, surgical, as if every target had been known for years. Across the galaxy, panic spread. The Council's military tried to respond, but the humans were always one step ahead. Every time the Council launched a counterattack, human fleets vanished into dark space. When they reappeared, another alien world was already burning. Back in the Council chamber, chaos erupted. "They are attacking strategic planets only," shouted a Varn commander. "They know our weak points. They must have our codes." "No," said Chancellor Vyrek. His crystal eyes glowed faintly. "They know us. They studied us. They waited." For the first time in centuries, the great powers of the galaxy felt something they had forgotten: fear. The Council's emergency lights turned red. A new transmission was incoming, from the humans themselves. Everyone turned as the screen lit up. It showed a single figure, Admiral Sarah Kale, her face half hidden in shadow. Her voice was calm but sharp like a blade. "You took our worlds. You erased our people. You called it peace. Now, we return the favor. The age of the Council is over." The transmission ended. Silence followed. In the dark space beyond the Council's reach, humanity kept moving, silent fleets appearing and vanishing, destroying enemy lines one by one. No one knew how many humans remained or where their base was. But the message was clear: humanity had not died. They had evolved into something else. Something unstoppable. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Some called them ghosts. Others, demons. But one name began to echo everywhere: the revenants of Earth. The council tried to hide their fear behind plans and meetings, but deep down they knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had once begged for a seat in the council. Now, they were coming to burn the throne itself. And as the blue star outside the chamber flickered, the oldest member of the council whispered, almost to himself, "We should have left them alone." But it was too late. Somewhere, hidden in the dark, a human voice whispered through the static of space. "Phase 2, ready." The screen went black. The galaxy was no longer calm. Every major system on the council's maps was flashing red. Human attacks were spreading like wildfire, precise, brutal, and silent. No demands, no messages, no negotiations. Just destruction. On the main council station, the leaders gathered again. Their faces, or what counted as faces, showed pure disbelief. "This is impossible," shouted the Drex Collective's voice, a cold metallic echo. "Humans do not have this level of coordination." Their fleets were scattered. But the Threxian Chancellor Virex stared at the hologram map. "They have something we underestimated," he said slowly. "They have rage and purpose." Everywhere, reports came in. A Drex shipyard, gone. A Varn listening post, erased. Even a Threxian fortress, which had stood for centuries, was turned into molten glass. The council called for emergency reinforcements. Thousands of warships gathered near the core systems. They waited for the human fleet to appear. But nothing came. Days passed. The galaxy fell into a fearful silence. Then, suddenly, every communication beacon in the core systems began transmitting a strange signal. It wasn't a code. It was music. A human song. Old, emotional, and haunting. Something ancient, from Earth's history. The aliens didn't understand the words, but the tone carried sadness and power. And then, the attack began. Human ships appeared inside the very heart of the galaxy, inside the Council's own defensive perimeter. No one knew how they entered. No warp signature. No warning. The first explosions lit up the void like supernovas. The Council's fleets scrambled to respond. Massive alien battleships turned their weapons toward the smaller human ships. But before they could fire, the humans released something new: shimmering black drones, thousands of them. They moved fast, cutting through shields, slicing armor like blades of light. The aliens screamed over the comms. "They're everywhere. We can't lock onto them." From the flagship Revenant, Admiral Sarah Kale watched in silence. Her fleet moved with perfect timing, every strike calculated, every explosion part of the plan. Beside her stood Commander Ryan Vale, his armor scratched from old battles. "Admiral," he said, "Council fleets are falling back. Should we press forward?" Sarah's eyes never left the holomap. "No. Not yet. Let them think they can breathe." Ryan frowned. "We could finish them here." Sarah turned slowly toward him. "No, Commander. They need to see first. They need to understand what fear feels like." In the council chamber, chaos erupted once again. "They are attacking our capital systems," shouted the Varn speaker. "We must use the Omega Protocol." The Drex Collective refused. "No. If we use that weapon, we destroy half the sector." Virex slammed his claws on the table. "Then we die half the galaxy away instead." Before they could argue more, the lights in the chamber flickered, then went out. The entire council station trembled. The defense grid had failed. Panic filled the room. Then, on the large screen, a human symbol appeared, the old flag of Earth, burned and torn. A voice followed. Calm. Female. Familiar. "Council members," said Admiral Sarah Kale. "This is humanity speaking. You once called us your lesser species. You took our home, enslaved our people, erased our history. But humans, we adapt. We survive. And now, we return what was taken. Vyrek growled. You think you can win this war alone? Her face appeared on the screen. We already did. And then the screen exploded into static. The next few hours were chaos. Every alien fleet that tried to engage was outmaneuvered. Human ships struck from blind spots, vanished into black space, and reappeared behind enemy lines. It wasn't a war anymore. It was a ghost hunt. The Varn Dominion tried to predict human movement using quantum AI. But somehow, humans were always one step ahead, as if they knew the future. Rumors began spreading. Some said humans had merged their minds with ancient alien technology. Others whispered that they had built something beyond understanding, an intelligence older than any machine. By the third day, the Council's military strength had dropped by 40%. The humans still hadn't taken a single loss. Inside the Revenant, Sarah stood before the large viewing window, watching a burning world below. Her crew was silent. The air was heavy with victory and sorrow. Commander Vale finally spoke. Do you ever wonder, Admiral, what happens after this? Sarah didn't answer at first. Her eyes stayed on the burning planet. After this, she said quietly, we rebuild. But first, they must remember who we are. A voice came through the comms. Admiral, reconnaissance reports Council survivors regrouping near the core nexus. Sarah turned. Good. That's where Phase 3 begins. Far away, in the ruins of a Drex world, a small alien child looked up at the night sky. For the first time in his life, he saw the symbol of Earth appear on the horizon, burned into the stars like a warning. The humans were no longer the forgotten race of the galaxy. They had become something more, a storm that no one could stop. And somewhere deep in the dark, beyond the reach of any sensor, a hidden voice whispered through static again. Phase 3, ready. For the first time in centuries, the Galaxy Council was afraid. Entire fleets had been lost. Communication networks were in ruins. Every corner of the galaxy echoed the same name, humans. The survivors gathered again inside the damaged council hall. Cracks ran along the shining walls, lights flickered weakly, and the once mighty voices of the alien rulers now sounded small. We must know how they did this, said Chancellor Vyrek, his crystal claws scraping the metal table. Humans cannot simply vanish and return with power greater than ours. There is something behind them. The Varn speaker, a glowing orb of energy, pulsed softly. Our last scouts traced the humans' fleet to an unknown region, deep beyond the Perseus Rim. That space was once thought empty. Then it is not empty anymore, Vyrek growled. The Drex Collective's voice echoed coldly through the room. If we find their base, we end this war. The longer we wait, the stronger they become. Without hesitation, the Council assembled a secret strike force, the best from every species. Massive ships armed with the deadliest weapons in the galaxy set out toward the dark edge of known space. No broadcasts, no signals, total silence. They believed they were hunting ghosts. But they had no idea what waited for them. Weeks passed. The strike fleet crossed the edge of the mapped galaxy. The stars grew thinner. Radiation storms screamed through the void. Even the navigators felt uneasy. The further they went, the darker the space became, until even their scanners started to fail. Then, one night cycle, the lead ship detected something faint. A structure, massive, metallic, and old. At first, they thought it was an asteroid station. But as they drew closer, lights flickered across its surface like sleeping eyes awakening. It wasn't human-made. It was older. Much older. The Varn captain whispered. By the stars, what is that? The readings came through, unknown alloys, unknown power sources, and technology beyond anything in the Council's database. The Drex units scanned again. It's not just one station, they said. It's an entire network. A graveyard of machines. And in the center of that graveyard, A massive human flag burned into the hull of one of the largest ships. The fleet halted. A transmission appeared suddenly, untraceable, voice cold and clear. "You shouldn't have come here." The alien commanders froze. "Identify yourself." The voice continued. "This place is not for the Council. You destroyed Earth and left us to die. But death is where we learned everything." The ship's sensors came alive again, detecting hundreds of human vessels rising from the darkness, their hulls black as shadow, their engines silent. Admiral Sarah Kale appeared on the main view screen. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned. "Welcome to the grave," she said. "The birthplace of the new humanity." The alien commander sneered. "You found ancient technology here, didn't you? That's how you fight us. You are using forbidden machines." Sarah nodded slowly. "You called this place cursed. You were too afraid to explore it. But we had nothing left to lose. When you burned Earth, you gave us freedom from fear." She turned, showing the gigantic alien ruins behind her. "These machines were not yours. They belonged to something older, something that once ruled before even your council. We learned from them. We rebuilt. We became more." The council fleet opened fire. Massive energy blasts lit up the void, but they hit nothing. The human ships were already gone, vanishing into the dark like ghosts. Then, one by one, the alien ships began to explode from within. The Drex captain screamed, "They've hacked our systems." Sarah's voice echoed over the comms. "You can't fight the dead." In minutes, the mighty strike fleet was gone. Only silence remained. Back at the council station, panic grew again as reports arrived. Their fleet destroyed, no survivors. The truth began to spread. Humans had found something ancient, something the galaxy had forgotten. A technology that allowed them to control matter, energy, and even the fabric of space. The Varn speaker trembled with fear. They merged with the ancient machines. They are not just humans anymore." Virek's claws clenched tightly. "Then they are monsters." "No," came a soft voice from the corner. It was an old alien historian, his body frail. "They are what we made them. When we destroyed their world, we created our own end." Virek turned toward him. "What do you mean?" The old alien looked up. "The humans did not find that place by accident. It called to them. The ancient race that built those machines. They were like humans, wild, creative, emotional. Perhaps humanity was their descendant. Perhaps they were meant to return." The council fell silent. Meanwhile, in the hidden grave system, the human fleet gathered once more. The ruins glowed faintly, ancient power awakening under their control. Commander Ryan Vale stood beside Sarah, staring at the swirling energy fields around the ruins. "Admiral," he said, "if we keep using this power, we might lose what makes us human." Sarah looked out into the void. "Maybe," she said quietly. "But if we stop now, they'll destroy us again. And this time, there won't be anyone left to remember." A distant rumble shook the air as a massive new ship emerged from the grave, a fusion of human design and ancient alien structure. Its hull shimmered like starlight, its core pulsing with unknown energy. Sarah whispered, "Project Revenant, complete." The ship systems came online. Across the galaxy, sensors everywhere detected a sudden wave, a signal that reached even the farthest council worlds. The message was simple. Humanity lives. And as the stars burned brighter for a moment, every being in the galaxy understood, the true war had only just begun. The galaxy could feel it, a pulse that ran through every star, every planet, every ship. That signal, humanity lives, spread like fire. It carried no threat, no demand, only truth. Humanity had returned, and they were no longer the same. Inside the Council's main fortress world, fear hung in the air like smoke. Ships were leaving the docks in chaos. Entire species were preparing for war. The Council, once proud and united, now stood broken and desperate. Chancellor Virek looked across the war table. The humans built something in that grave, he said, his voice shaking. We all felt the shockwave. Whatever it is, it's bigger than anything we've ever seen. The Drex Collective responded in a cold, metallic tone. Our sensors confirm a ship, 10 times larger than a dreadnought. Energy output exceeds stellar reactors. They call it Project Revenant. A silence fell. Virek's claws clenched. Then that is our target. If we destroy it, the humans will break. The council voted, for once, united. They would bring everything they had, every fleet, every weapon, and strike first before the humans could unleash their new creation. Far across the galaxy, in the hidden grave system, Admiral Sarah Kale stood on the bridge of the new ship. The Revenant was alive, not just built of metal and wires, but something deeper. Its walls hummed softly, its lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Status? She asked. Commander Ryan Vale replied, all systems stable. The core is synchronized. But it's strange, Admiral. The ship reacts to us. It feels us. Sarah touched the console. The metal rippled under her hand like water. It's not just a ship, Commander, she said quietly. It's part of us now. The Revenant had been forged from ancient technology, machines that once belonged to a race older than the Council itself. Humanity had merged their minds with those systems, creating something no one could fully understand. Outside, the fleet stood ready, hundreds of dark human ships waiting in formation, silent as shadows. Admiral, Ryan said, Council fleets are gathering near the border worlds. They're coming with everything. Sarah nodded slowly. Then let's show them what we've become. In deep space, two forces met for the first time. The largest battle the galaxy had ever seen was about to begin. The Council's combined fleet filled the stars, tens of thousands of ships, glowing with energy. Their plan was simple: surround the grave system and crush the humans before Revenant could move. But when they arrived, the system looked empty. No human ships. No signals. Only silence. Scanners. Virek demanded. Nothing, replied a Varn officer. It's quiet. Too quiet. Then the stars went dark. Massive shadows appeared, human ships emerging from stealth. And in the middle of them, the Revenant unfolded its wings, stretching across the void like a living creature. Every sensor went blind. The ship's core glowed white-hot, forming a storm of light and gravity. Fire! Shouted Virek. The Council's fleet unleashed everything: beams, torpedoes, plasma bursts, but the energy vanished into the swirling field around the Revenant. The blasts didn't even reach it. Then came the reply. A single pulse. It wasn't light or fire, it was pure force. The wave hit the alien armada and tore through it like a hurricane through glass. Ships shattered silently. Engines went dark. Whole fleets simply vanished. Inside the Revenant, alarms flashed. Ryan gripped the console. The core is overloading. It's drawing too much power. Sarah stayed calm. Hold the line. The message must be sent. Across the galaxy, every communication channel suddenly lit up again, carrying a live transmission from Sarah Kale herself. Her image appeared in every alien world, on every screen, every beacon. This is Admiral Sarah Kale of Earth, she said softly. We do not come to conquer. We come to remind you. For centuries you ruled with fear. You burned our home, silenced our voice. But humanity does not die in silence. We learn. We rebuild. We rise. Her eyes hardened. We will not destroy your worlds. But if you ever come for us again, you will meet the same silence you gave us. And then the transmission ended. The Revenant folded its wings, and the human fleet began to withdraw. Behind them, the remains of the Council's armada drifted like dust. In the Council chamber, what remained of the leaders watched the recordings in disbelief. Whole planets mourned their lost fleets. The Varn speaker whispered, "We cannot fight them anymore. We must talk." Virek stared at the empty screen. Talk to ghosts, he said bitterly. They are not human anymore. But deep inside, he knew it was over. Humanity had become something beyond understanding, a mix of flesh, metal, and willpower. Far away, aboard the Revenant, Sarah watched the stars through the viewport. Ryan stood beside her. They'll come again, he said quietly. Sarah nodded. Maybe. But next time, they'll remember who we are. A faint smile touched her face as the ship turned toward the unknown stars. Set course for Earth, she ordered. It's time to go home. The engines flared, and the Revenant vanished into the light, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. But in the silent void, something ancient stirred, deep within the ruins of the grave. The machines that had slept for millions of years were waking again. And a cold, whispering voice echoed through the dark. The cycle continues. Months passed since the great battle. The galaxy was quiet, too quiet. The Council's fleets were gone, its worlds half ruined, and every species now watched the stars with fear. The name, human, had become a warning, spoken softly in every port and colony. Yet while the Council struggled to rebuild, something else was happening behind closed doors. In the deepest chambers of the rebuilt Council Hall, a secret meeting took place. Only 3 beings were present: Chancellor Vyrek, the Varn Speaker, and the Drex Collective's metallic avatar. The humans left. Vyrek began, voice low. They returned to their world, but the ruins in that grave system remain active. Our scanners show movement again. The Drex Collective hummed. Residual energy. Or something waking up. The Varn Speaker flickered with faint light. We thought the humans used the machines. What if the machines used them? Silence filled the room. They all remembered the final battle, how the human flagship had acted almost alive, how its attacks seemed guided by something more than human instinct. Vyrek straightened. We must find the origin of those ruins. Before the humans, or whatever they became, return. And so, the Council formed a secret team, scientists, spies, and soldiers from every surviving race. Their mission, to enter the grave once more, and learn the truth. Far away, on Earth, humanity was changing too. The planet had begun to heal. New cities rose from the ashes, powered by the same energy that had once come from the ancient ruins. The people called it Corelight. Admiral Sarah Kale stood on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt capital. Below her, children played under clear skies for the first time in generations. Commander Ryan Vale joined her. Earth looks alive again, he said softly. It deserves to be, Sarah replied. We fought for this. But it isn't over. I can feel it. Ryan frowned. The Council. No, she said, eyes distant. Something older. The machines in the grave are still speaking. Every night our sensors pick up their whispers. Ryan hesitated. Maybe we should shut them down. Sarah shook her head. We can't. They're part of the Revenant systems now. They're part of us. Behind them, the giant ship rested above the atmosphere, silent, watching like a guardian. At the edge of the galaxy, the Council's secret expedition entered the grave system. Their ships drifted through the same debris field where the last fleet had died. Everything was silent, no humans, no movement, only wreckage. Then their sensors detected a faint signal from deep within the ruins. They followed it. The closer they came, the stranger the readings grew. Space itself bent around the structures. The machines glowed faintly, as if breathing. Inside the largest ruin, they found an enormous chamber. In the center floated a sphere of light, pulsing slowly like a heart. The Varn scientist whispered, "This is older than anything we know. It predates the Council by millions of years." Suddenly, the light flared. Voices filled the air, not one, but many, overlapping like an echo from time itself. "You are not the first," the voices said. "We built. We fell. You built. You fell. The cycle repeats." The aliens froze. The Drex unit asked, "Cycle? What do you mean?" Every race that rises seeks control. Every race that fears builds walls. You burned your children, the humans, to keep your thrones. Now they return as we once did, reborn through ruin. The sphere dimmed. Then came a final whisper, the next dawn belongs to those who remember mercy. And the light went out. Before the team could react, their ship systems began to fail. One by one, the engines died. The ruins around them awakened, massive towers moving slowly, folding into new shapes. It was as if the entire grave were alive again. The expedition's last transmission reached the Council as a broken message. The machines are not weapons, they are memories. They're learning. Then silence. When the report reached the Council, fear returned. Vyrek stared at the message for a long time before speaking. They're awake. And the humans are connected to them. If those machines grow, no force in the galaxy can stop what's coming. The Varn's speaker's glow dimmed. Maybe this is not the end of us. Maybe it's the beginning of something else. Vyrek growled. Or the end of everything. On Earth, Admiral Sarah Kale watched the stars flicker strangely, forming unfamiliar patterns. The Revenant's core began to hum again. Admiral, Ryan said urgently. We're receiving a signal from the grave. Sarah turned. Put it through. The message was faint, ancient, and yet familiar. You are the bridge. Sarah's eyes widened. Bridge between what? The lights in the control room dimmed. For a moment, she saw something, images flashing through her mind. The ancient builders, the fall of countless civilizations, the endless cycle of creation and destruction. And then she understood. The machines hadn't chosen humanity as their servants. They had chosen them as their successors. She whispered to herself, we're not just surviving anymore. We're becoming. The Revenant's engines came alive again, brighter than ever. Ryan stepped closer. Admiral, where are we going? Sarah looked toward the dark horizon. To where it all began. The massive ship rose slowly into the black, its light spreading across the stars like dawn breaking over an endless night. Stars rolled by like slow sparks as the Revenant moved into the dark beyond every known map. No charts. No signals. Only the voice that kept calling from the void, a steady whisper in the ship's systems. Come home. Admiral Sarah Kale stood alone on the bridge. For weeks she had heard the same whisper in her dreams. It wasn't frightening anymore, it felt like something waiting to be understood. Commander Ryan Vale joined her. We're far past the border. Even the NAV beacons stopped a day ago. Sarah nodded. Good. That means we're close. Behind them, the crew worked silently. Each of them felt the same strange pull, an instinct buried deep in the mind, like a memory that wasn't theirs. Then, the darkness changed. Ahead, a faint blue light appeared. At first, it looked like a single star. But as they drew nearer, the light spread until it revealed something impossible. A planet floating alone in the black, surrounded by rings of crystal and metal. No sun, no warmth, yet it shone with life. Ryan whispered. That world shouldn't exist. It does, Sarah said. That's where the signal comes from. When they entered orbit, the Revenant scanners filled with data. The planet's surface was covered with vast structures, towers miles high, glowing rivers of light, and shapes that twisted like moving geometry. The energy reading was beyond anything known. Are those cities? Ryan asked. Sarah shook her head slowly. They're not built. They're grown. A soft voice echoed through the ship again, now clearer than ever. Descendants of flesh and metal. You carry our song. Every screen turned white. The crew froze as a figure formed from light, not human, not alien, something between. Its face was calm, eyes deep as stars. Sarah stepped forward. Who are you? We are the architects, the being said. We built the machines you found. We seeded minds across the stars. You are one of our children. Ryan stared. You mean, humans came from you? The being's light flickered. Long ago we gave life to many worlds. Some grew wise. Some grew cruel. Most forgot us. But your kind carried what others lost. Emotion, the spark that defies logic. When the council destroyed your home, that spark awakened. Sarah's voice was quiet. You created the cycle. Creation, war, rebirth. Why? To learn if life could rise without repeating our mistakes, the being said sadly. But we failed. Every race turned its gift into a weapon. You are the first to survive your own extinction. The ship shook gently. Outside, the planet's rings began to move, forming patterns of light, like a heartbeat spreading across space. Now the choice is yours, the voice continued. Take our power and rule the stars, or end the cycle and let life grow free. Sarah felt the weight of the words. Behind her, Ryan whispered, if we take it, no one can threaten us again. Sarah closed her eyes. And if we end it, maybe no one needs to. Far across the galaxy, the council detected the surge of energy. Every sensor screamed warnings. Vyrek watched the readings in horror. They've reached the source, he said. If they claim that power, everything ends. The Drex Collective responded, then we must strike now, whatever the cost. Vyrek hesitated. He remembered the message the ancient machines had given them. The next dawn belongs to those who remember mercy. Still, fear won. He ordered the fleets to move. In orbit above the glowing world, the Revenant received the Council's approach warning. Thousands of ships closing fast. Ryan looked at Sarah. They're coming. They'll attack no matter what we choose. Sarah turned back to the light being. What happens if we end the cycle? The weapons sleep. The old machines fade. The galaxy begins again, without masters. Sarah exhaled slowly. Then that's what we'll do. She reached out and touched the glowing console. The Revenant's core blazed like a star. The rings around the planet erupted in white fire, spreading outward in silent waves. When the Council's fleet arrived, their weapons failed instantly. Power systems shut down. Every engine, every cannon, every artificial intelligence went dark. Not destroyed, simply quieted. From the bridge, Sarah watched as light expanded across the stars. It's over, she whispered. Ryan stared in awe. What did you do? Not me, she said. Them. They're letting us start again. Hours later, the light faded. The Revenant drifted peacefully in orbit. The ancient planet was gone, replaced by a calm blue world, empty, but alive. The Council ships floated powerless nearby. Then, slowly, their systems rebooted. No more ancient tech. No superweapons. Just ships, fragile and simple. Sarah opened a channel to them. This is Admiral Sarah Kale. The architects are gone. Their power is gone. Now it's just us, all of us. We can keep fighting, or we can build something worth surviving for. For a long time, no one answered. Then Vyrek's tired voice came through the static. Perhaps it's time we listened. Weeks later, across the galaxy, new alliances formed. Old enemies met without guns. For the first time, peace didn't come from fear, it came from choice. On Earth, Sarah stood once again under a bright sky. Children laughed nearby. Ryan joined her, smiling faintly. Do you think it will last? She looked up at the stars. Maybe not forever. But this time, it'll be different. High above them, the Revenant drifted quietly in orbit, no longer a weapon, just a reminder. A monument to everything humanity had been. And everything it had chosen to become. And far beyond sight, in the endless dark, a single spark of blue light blinked, as if the architects were still watching, waiting, and hoping that the cycle had truly ended. 50 years had passed since the light wave ended the war. The galaxy had changed. Worlds that once burned with fear were now trading and learning together. The Council no longer ruled, it advised. Earth had become the center of the new alliance, a place where every species could meet as equals. Children from dozens of worlds studied side by side beneath the rebuilt sky. And high above, the silent ship Revenant still orbited, a monument to the day the cycle ended. But peace has a way of hiding its cracks. Admiral Sarah Cale was long gone, but her name lived in every history book. The ship she had commanded was now guarded by her granddaughter, Captain Lena Cale, a quiet woman with her grandmother's eyes and the same restless curiosity. For years the Revenant had slept, its engines cold. Yet one night, as Lena checked the control systems, a single light blinked on. A signal pulsed, faint, steady, rhythmic. 3 beats. Pause. 3 beats. Lena frowned. "That's not a malfunction," she whispered. Her second officer, a young Varn named Talo, leaned closer. "That pattern. It's the same as the first transmission the architects used." The bridge went silent. Lena ordered the scanners to full range. The signal came from far beyond the old borders, deeper than even the grave system, beyond any recorded coordinates. On the screen, a message formed, "Cycle incomplete. Return." Within days, the Alliance Council gathered. Old Vyrek, now scarred and slow, attended through hologram. "You promised us the cycle was broken," he growled. Lena met his gaze calmly. "It was. But something out there is still awake. We have to know what it is before it knows us." The council argued for hours. Some wanted to destroy the source. Others wanted to ignore it. In the end, Lena spoke the same words her grandmother once had. "If we fear the dark, we never learn what's inside it." Permission was granted. The Revenant would fly again. As the ship left orbit, Earth's blue glow faded behind. Inside the bridge, Talo whispered, "Feels like destiny, doesn't it?" Lena smiled faintly. "Maybe it's just family business." For weeks they traveled through empty space. No stars, no maps, just the echo of that strange pulse guiding them. At last, the darkness opened into a hollow region, a void so deep even light seemed afraid to enter. In the center floated a fragment of something enormous, a broken sphere, half metal, half stone, spinning slowly. The signal came from there. When they approached, the fragment lit up. Lines of blue fire crawled across its surface, and a voice whispered through every speaker. "Welcome back, descendants." The crew froze. Lena spoke carefully. "Who are you?" "We are what remained when the architects fell," the voice said. "You ended the old cycle, but you did not end us. The others chose sleep. We chose memory." A section of the structure opened, revealing a chamber large enough for the Revenant to enter. Against all orders, Lena guided the ship inside. The interior was vast, a silent cathedral of light and dust. At its center stood a single figure, made of shifting metal and faint blue glow. It looked almost human. "You carry our spark," it said softly. "But even peace must be tested. Without struggle, creation fades." Lena stepped forward. "We've had enough struggle. The galaxy finally breathes. Then it will forget," the figure replied. "Every species does. Fear ends, comfort grows, and the fire dies. The cycle is not punishment. It is renewal." The meaning struck her like a weight. The architects hadn't just built life, they maintained it, restarting it whenever it grew too calm. Ryan Vale's logs had once mentioned a phrase, "The machines are learning." Now Lena understood what they had learned, how to begin again. She raised her weapon. "We won't let you restart it." The figure tilted its head. "Then prove that life can grow without chaos. Show us a different way." A bright sphere formed above the chamber, pure potential energy, ready to expand or vanish depending on her choice. Back on Earth, Alliance sensors detected the rising power. Panic spread, they feared another light wave. Vyrek whispered from his chair. "Not again." But then the readings changed. Instead of destruction, the signal divided, thousands of threads spreading toward every inhabited world, carrying information, not fire. In the chamber, Lena stood inside the storm. "If the test is proof," she said, Then watch us build without fear. She ordered the Revenant to transmit the entire history of the past 50 years. Every act of rebuilding, every treaty, every shared discovery. The light around her softened. Perhaps the fire can burn gently, the figure said. Perhaps the cycle can rest. The sphere collapsed into a tiny spark and drifted toward her, settling on her hand like warm dust. Guard it well, child of Earth. The next cycle waits in distant stars. And the figure faded. When the Revenant returned home months later, the galaxy held its breath. Lena stood before the council and spoke simply. The architects are gone, but their last fragment trusted us with something new, a seed, not a weapon. What happens next depends on how we choose to live. She placed the glowing spark on the table. It pulsed once, then stilled, like a heartbeat asleep. For the first time, every leader bowed their head together. Years later, children across many worlds looked up at the night sky. They no longer feared the dark. They called the bright pulse above them the Promise Star. And high in orbit, the Revenant drifted in silence, carrying the sleeping spark, the final gift of the architects, and the first hope of a galaxy that had finally learned what it meant to be human.